If you've clicked on this video, you're probably somebody that classifies yourself as super strong, super independent, you've got it, you have control over everything, but maybe secretly struggling and wishing that you can welcome in relationships and not deal with trust issues. Hi, my name is Bailey Code. I am the co-owner of Recharge the Soul Retreats. I have been running retreats yearly since 2019. For example, in 2023, we did 17 retreats alone. So you get the idea. I work with thousands of women a year, whether it's through my one-on-one coaching with astrology, breathwork, life coaching, or whether it's through our transformational, immersive, international women's retreats. I see and hear it all different walks of life and all different stories. The number one thing I hear women struggling with is control issues. And why maybe women are dealing with control issues is we've been in this era of boss babe, right? We've been in this era of really supporting women going after bigger things in the workforce, creating their own businesses, creating financial freedom, which is something that I'm all about. That is exactly within my own lifestyle. That's something that I dreamed of as a little girl, and now I walk it to this day. But while they've created these empires, they feel something's missing. And that's where I find a lot of women sitting at the table in front of me, asking for help and asking for clarity on what it is missing. While women are so overly in their masculine nowadays, there's nothing wrong with that. We love being able to take action over our lives. And really, in order to manifest in this life, we have to be in our masculine. We have to be taking action. We have to be taking scary steps and going out of our comfort zone. But where I see this become an issue is when it's way out of balance and the feminine side, our innate intuition, our ability to relax and rest and receive and be patient when something is not there yet, is missing with a lot of women. So they're in overdrive. For example, I had this one client show up to a Recharge the Soul retreat about 3 years ago in Shasta, California, and she was really struggling. On paper, you would think that her life was perfect, right? She was a CEO of a company and business that she created. She was financially free. She was living in her dream city in LA and in her dream house. But there was something within her that was missing. And once that week started doing a little bit of discovery around that, I began to notice that she was way overly in her masculine, right? She was great at creating and manifesting what she wanted physically. But what was missing was her feminine nature, right? That part of us that allows ourselves to relax, to enjoy, to play in this life, and to ultimately pull more of what we want from a place of alignment and receiving, right? Not always being in this charge, this action. In a year's time, after she implemented these 5 things that I'm going to share with you in this video, her whole life looked different. She dropped a bunch of weight. She was starting to date. She's been dating a couple of people now, kind of getting an idea of what it is she likes and what it is she doesn't. She's enjoying it. She's also been making new friends and creating a lot of hobbies and things that she enjoys outside of her job. Her business is still flourishing, but it's more that her life is in balance, right? So you can still be in that beautiful masculine energy that us women love to be in a lot of the time. Trust me, I get it. I love being in my masculine, but she also knows how to bring in her feminine in the appropriate times and when she's feeling out of balance. She's in tune with both sides. So listen in on this video if you resonate with any of this, and we'll start to dive into exactly what you should be doing in order to bring more balance between your masculine and your feminine. Here are 5 simple steps that you can begin to implement right now in this moment into your life that will, over time, right? It's about consistency and patience that will change your life, bring more balance, bring more peace, and ultimately love. Step number 1. Bring in more play. right? This might seem so silly to you, but the issue with a lot of women that are overly in their masculine is they take everything too seriously, right? It's really hard to tap into joy. It's hard to tap into the feminine when we're in a mode of over critiquing everything in our day. When you're tapping into play, when you're tapping into doing something just because it brings you more joy versus there having to be a purpose behind it, there having to be a deadline, something that you are striving towards. When you allow moments of play into your day-to-day, it allows you to come into a space of naturally being in joy. When you're naturally being in joy, when you're having multiple blissful moments throughout your day, you will be in a state of gratitude. And when you are in a state of gratitude, you naturally begin to pull in things into your life that will make you feel more abundant, that will be in alignment with where you're trying to go. So bringing in more play is the number one step that I recommend. So step number 2, make time to move slower. I teach this actually in my feminine and masculine workshop within the retreats. This is a huge thing for a lot of women in their masculine. If you struggle with being in your masculine, you may notice, or I want you to think about it right now, do you have a hard time sitting still? Do you have a hard time listening? Do you have a hard time being in the mundane or being bored? A lot of people that are overly in their masculine are always feeling like they have to be in this action mode, have a hard time just being. Right? Maybe you feel more comfortable when you're multitasking. When you are making time to just slow down, when you're taking time to eat slower, walk slower, talk slower, you're actually rewiring your nervous system at this point. When we're overly in our masculine, a lot of the times we're working with our sympathetic nervous system, which is great in some places, but not all the time. When we're in our sympathetic nervous system, we're in our logical mind, so we're constantly looking for danger. It's our point that keeps us actually protected. When we're allowing ourselves to implement moments frequently throughout the day where we go for long walks without listening to anything, when we're allowing ourselves just to eat slower, like I said earlier, we're actually working with the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to rest. It allows us to tap into our intuition, and it allows us to get clear guidance on what step we should be taking next in our life, not from a over analyzing logical mind state, right, which is trying to keep us protected but isn't allowing us to get into a heart, but more from a deeply connected intuitive place that only wants our highest best calling in this life. So start implementing moments throughout your day where you create silence, where you're not jumping to the next thing. And again, I would eliminate multitasking for a little while. At least give yourself a month. Give yourself a start date and an end date where you really work on creating moments throughout your day where you're just allowing yourself to be. So step number 3, this kind of goes along with step number 2, but I want you to start working on your listening skills. This is also something we teach within our chakra workshop, especially when we're talking about the throat chakra. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And when we're overly in our masculine, sometimes we feel like in order to feel like we are important, or in order to feel like we deserve to have a seat at the table, we need to be saying something of value. This is the absolute opposite of the truth. In fact, one of my mentors, I really learned this trait from her because I would watch her in podcasts, and she is probably one of the most wisest, she is one of the wisest females I know to this day. When she says something, it holds such potency. But what I've noticed is when she's been in podcasts with maybe 4 or 5 people, she does not say a lot. And when she says something, it doesn't have a lot of fluff. It adds value to the conversation, and it holds so much potency. It's like she's dropping a truth bomb in the middle of the conversation that leaves everybody silent for a second as they integrate what she just said. And I want you to take that in and allow yourself to start to sit, and don't feel like you always have to say something. Listen, and before you respond, pause. But this is allowing you to sit in your feminine and not feel like you always have to control the narrative or the conversation around you. And you'll start to notice as those around you, when you come into this embodiment of just feeling secure and confident in who you are, not necessarily what you have to say, the conversation will switch around you. The fifth step is embodiment work. And when I say embodiment work, again, we're working with the nervous system. This is a lot of inner work. When we change from the inside, everything around you naturally shifts. And when I say embodiment work, I want you to start focusing on ways of moving your body that allows you to come into slower movements. So for example, yin yoga is something I always recommend to women that are overly in their masculine. Yin yoga or restorative yoga is going to have you in poses where you're probably going to be in them for 2 to 3 minutes. Don't be afraid, because a lot of the poses are poses that you can sink into, such as sleeping pigeon or butterfly folded over. In butterfly, forward fold. So they're poses that allow you to slowly stretch out your body to come into a space where it can let go, relax, unwind, right? The body holds so much. Read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, if you're interested in how the trauma gets stored in the body. So when we're coming into spaces such as yin yoga or restorative yoga, we're actually allowing the mind to get out of the way and the body to do the work, as well as you're coming into spaces where you can sit in stillness, you can sit in silence, and you can sit in the mundane. And from there, the mind gets out of the way, the logical, the analytical mind that we're always in our masculine, and we can start to drop into the heart. And from there, you're meeting the universe halfway and you're co-creating your life. So the fifth and final step, and here is where I'm going to talk a little bit more about the spiritual side to it. I am a big believer in talking both the scientific side as well as the spiritual side. I think that they go hand in hand. And this one has a lot to do with the heart chakra, this final step. There is something in the yogic philosophy, the Vedic text, called kleshas, and they are scars on the soul. And this one hits so deeply with a lot of women, because what happens typically, especially with the heart chakra, is we walk through negative experiences in our life, which all of us are bound to run into, some of us more than others. But when we run into negative experiences, say you got cheated on, or say you were let down, or you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe your childhood was super chaotic, whatever it may be. What happens is we tend to get these kleshas, these scars on the soul. And we have two choices in how we navigate that. We can heal, we can do the work, we can grieve, we can process, and we can find the lesson in the klesha. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. The other choice that we can do, which is where I see a lot of women go, is we begin to build walls around the heart chakra, right? Somebody betrays us, we're like, chink, 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 chink. And what we think we are doing is we actually think we're protecting ourselves. But when we block off our heart, or we come into this space, in other words, of I don't trust you until you teach me to trust you, we're actually blocking off opportunities. We're blocking off blessings from the universe. We're blocking off the gifts of what that lesson was actually trying to teach us. For example, I went through a really, really heart-shattering breakup 6 years ago. It changed my whole life. It's actually what motivated me to get into this work. And I remember about 2 weeks after the breakup happened, I was walking on the beach with a friend and I had tears strolling down my face. And I was talking about the breakup and how I was feeling and the pain that I was in. And I remember my friend at that time looked at me and she said, "There's no good guys out there." And in the back of my mind, I knew if I accepted that reality or that story, that I would not attract in or I would not let in any good guys, because I would always be in this protective state of not allowing any new relationship in because I've deemed them all bad. I put them all into the same basket. So even in my heartbroken state, with tears rolling down my face, I looked at her and I said, I don't choose to believe that. And I started to give myself social proof as to why that can't be true. I have 2 older brothers who are my best friends. They're great guys. They're in great relationships. They're such good friends. And I told myself, well, they're both great guys and I've grown up with them. I looked at my guy friends who I spend a lot of time with and I see how they talk about women and what they want in their life and what they want to go after. And I'm like, well, they're good guys. I have my dad who's an amazing guy. I know all of these amazing guys, these great guys and ultimately good people. So I knew that that was an ideology that I didn't have to accept. And 5 years down the road, I'm now in an amazing partnership, one that I would have dreamed about back then. And that's very in alignment with who I am now. But if I had trusted that story, or if I had built that wall around my heart chakra from that klesha, I would have not allowed in this new relationship. So you have to ask yourself, what walls or what stories are you adopting that keeps you in this state of hyper independency or being strong and not tapping into your feminine of receiving and of enjoying and relaxing and coming from a space of I trust you until you teach me not to trust you, right? Because that is coming more from a self-trust place, saying, okay, I trust my judgment. So if somebody's giving me if somebody's showing me different like red flags as to why we're not in alignment as far as our values, I know I'm going to be okay, and then I can step away and move into a different direction. I hope you enjoyed this video. They are such simple steps, but they can change your whole life. So let me know in the comments what you think. Subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested in coming onto a Recharge Soul retreat, you can visit our website, which will also be linked down below. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you next time.
Perfect. That was sweet.
Okay.
Okay, that was awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
That was fun. I like doing this.